ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Driven Dave here. Got a little video about plug-in hybrids and how to use that extra little bit of gas mileage and range to your advantage. Before I bought this car, I'm in a 2018 Optima plug-in hybrid. I didn't really understand the whole plug-in hybrid thing. You know, like just the whole plug-in thing just kind of makes your brain pause for a second and say, well, wait, so what is it? And for those of you that don't know, so this car basically has a standard like hybrid gas engine and hybrid battery, and then it has an additional high voltage battery in the trunk, which gives you an extra however many miles of range. According to my car right now, I've got 20 miles left. I've already been driving for a few minutes. As you can see, the sun is just barely coming out. It's early. So I'll show you just kind of how I like to use it. And I'm going to flip the camera around and show you a couple things. So as I mentioned, we've got that extra hybrid battery and the high voltage battery for the electric range. As you can see, 20 miles of electric range. Also, you can see over here, I've got my little power meter. And what I'm doing right now, and this is kind of a steady downhill. So what I like to do for this part of my drive, because I've got about, I've got 48 miles left of my drive. And I've probably done, 5 or 10 miles so far, because it's usually about 58 miles, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending upon the route. But for this particular drive, you can see I'm still going downhill. I'm going to lower my camera here just a touch, because there are oftentimes a little speed trap there, and I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, I think we're cool. But as you can see, I'm kind of just feathering the throttle a little bit, the accelerator, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's a gas pedal in this car, let's be honest. And I'm just kind of trying to maintain speed. Sometimes I'll go a little faster and let it coast. Because with these cars, with the hybrids and the plug-ins, every mile that you can roll is a good mile, you know, and by roll meaning like that's a mile where you're not on the pedal. So now I'm going uphill, and I'm actually going to let the car decelerate just a touch, so I can stay off the pedal. And you can see the whole time I've been talking to you, we've been at said 19 and just dropped 2. But it was at 20 miles of range for quite a while. And that will change kind of based on my driving style. I have seen it, add miles. I've seen it get rid of miles. So let's see, I'm gonna bump the throttle a bit here. And now let's just let her coast. Because I'm on a good downhill stretch, and I want to take advantage of some good regen. Now, kind of like my whole reason for making this video, I was chatting with my buddy Nate, and he recently got a Toyota Prius Prime. I think it's like a 2017, so he's living the plug-in life too. And he was telling me he never uses his, or very rarely uses his battery when he's on the freeway. And if you know anything about EVs and plug-ins, highway driving just absolutely sucks the battery right up. But I'm in kind of a unique situation, since I get all of these downhill miles. So a good portion of this drive is downhill, and that really saves me big time. So I'm going uphill now, and I'm going to let the car kind of decelerate a little bit. I don't like to lose too much speed, because as you know, you have to use energy to get the car moving again. And if somebody smarter than me out there, thinks otherwise, hey, that's cool. Let me know in the comments. I'm curious how you do it. This is just how I do it. And, there are a million different ways that you can utilize these cars, which is great, I think. So again, I kind of like to, since I know this drive really well, I kind of like to, goose it a little bit and then let her coast for quite a while. As you can see, I've only lost, 3 miles of range, and I think we've probably done well more than 3 miles at this point. But anyway, as I was saying, my friend Nate, he's been doing only city driving with his high voltage battery. And I think that's a good play. And I've actually kind of adapted my driving style since we chatted. And I've kind of been like heading this direction for a while. What I've been doing lately, since most of the time I'm doing kind of far away stuff, so my round trip is going to be, I don't know, 100 miles, 120 miles, depending upon the day and where I'm going. Sometimes more, sometimes a little less. But what I'll do is I'll do kind of like the first part of my drive on battery. So as you can see right here, I've got my little battery meter. And it's in a location that like you would normally expect to see like a temperature gauge, but that's my battery remaining. That's my high voltage battery. So when it gets kind of close to halfway, I switch it over to the hybrid mode. And what that allows me to do is, obviously, like, I'll just be on the freeway as a normal hybrid, and then I'll get off the freeway and then switch back into EV mode. So I think I'm actually at that point now. So I've got 41 miles left of my drive, and that's cool. So I'll just hit the little button, go into hybrid mode. So now we're going to use more gas, obviously, but I'm going to use kind of the same techniques that I was using earlier on that downhill stretch. So as you can see, coming up on a downhill as we kind of enter downtown Los Angeles. And, I like to get her up to speed and just let her coast. And that gets me a good amount of free miles, at least in my experiments. And, and I've had this car for, we're up to 65,000 miles now. So I have tried quite a few different ways of utilizing this. But I think kind of like what I'm doing these days seems to be like giving me pretty good results. And especially because for the most part, I don't charge on both ends of my journey. I just charge at home, and I don't really charge when I'm out. And that's not necessarily by choice. I like charging on the B part of my trip. But there just aren't a whole lot of options, especially for, plug-in hybrids where I'm going. If you go to Whole Foods or whatever, like that's great, you can plug in. Some of the places I work, there will be a plug, but like this morning, I'm going to be in the same place for about 6 hours, 6.5 hours, and there's nowhere to plug in. So that ain't happening. Going to a convention later today in Anaheim. I might be able to plug in there, but I'm not sure. But that's okay, even if I don't. I'll still get pretty good gas mileage. Right now we're sitting at 55.7 miles per gallon. As you can see, I've got a little under a half a tank. And 383 miles on that much gas. Cool thing about this car, it doesn't have a huge gas tank. And actually, I wasn't able to fill up. So that's not on a completely full tank. The needle was just under full. For whatever reason, the pump kept clicking off, and I thought I was full, but I wasn't. So it's probably like full tank minus a gallon or a gallon and a half, if I had to guess. So really not bad. Almost 400 miles on, I guess that would be about 400 miles on half a tank, or 380 on half a tank. Because I think that's about how far off of full it was when I filled up. But the other good thing, so I was going to say, like with that battery at that state, arriving at my next destination, the cool thing is, because I woke up at 4, so I'm pretty tired. During one of my breaks, I may take a nap in the car. And one thing I'll say that I really like about the Optima, this one in particular, it's very comfortable. And let me tell you, it's a good little 10-minute nap machine. I'm a fan. It's got ventilated seats, nice leather. It's got heated seats too, if you want to do that. And very comfortable. So, having that much battery left, it's no problem for me to turn the car on, have it in EV mode, turn on the air conditioning. I mean, it's virtually silent outside, with the exception of the fan just for the AC system and for the probably for the condenser and stuff. So, I could take an hour-long nap in this thing and only eat through maybe 2 miles of range, something like that. I've done that before. I just didn't really pay attention to how much juice I was eating up, but definitely a fan of that. I think that's a really great feature. And if you have a job that takes you a lot of places, and sometimes you have some downtime, and sometimes you're really tired, consider a plug-in hybrid. It's a good way to go, especially if you're not, you don't want to make the jump to a full EV, which I understand, or maybe they're too expensive, which very understandable. But you kind of want the best of both worlds. This is definitely the case. And there are obviously drawbacks. I think the biggest drawback to this car is that it's got a small trunk. So it's got, essentially 2 big batteries in the back. Well, 3 if you count the 12 volt. So there are basically 3 batteries in the trunk, and that takes up a lot of space. So you definitely lose that cargo capacity. If you're planning on using this for road trips, if it's just you, that's fine, because you can put stuff in the back seat. But if you're planning on taking the family, it is going to be tight, and that's definitely been a drawback for us, especially with the price of gas right now in Los Angeles. At the time of recording, it's June of 2022, and gas is anywhere between $5.90 a gallon and 7 something, maybe more, maybe less. You get the idea. It ain't cheap. So a car like this, rocking 50, 55, anywhere from 40 to 55, 60 miles per gallon, that'll save you a lot of money on the road, especially if you're taking a road trip. I mean, last night we took our Sienna minivan just up to Camarillo, which really isn't that far, and round trip we ate through about a half a tank of gas. So I figure that trip cost me 50 or 60 bucks, and we didn't, like I said, we didn't even go that far. I mean, it was a considerable amount of miles, but I think it was 45 minutes each way. It wasn't that far. So the gas is really, it's really hurting. I mean, it's hurting me in this car even. I drive enough miles that this car is even costing me a good amount of money right now. So but anyway, folks, sorry to ramble. I guess I woke up too early. Like I said, 4 a.m. and I'm just a little loopy, I think, at this hour. But for those of you that made it this far, I really appreciate it. You're true friends, and my sincere thanks and gratitude. If you have one of these cars, maybe you have a Prius Prime, or maybe, what are some of the other plugins out there? I know the Hyundai Ioniq No 5. That's a nice little plug-in. There's a new Hyundai Santa Fe plug-in, and that's very interesting. Also, the RAV4 Prime, if you can find one, those are cool. The BMW has BMW has several. They've got the 530e. They've got the I believe it's the 330e, and they also have it's like an X5e, but I think it's called something else. And those are all pretty cool. They don't go very far on a charge, but it gives you, if you have a city job where you're just driving 10 miles, that might be cool. For me, I'm a highway warrior, so it's arguable if the plug-in was really the best choice for me, but I don't know. It's worked out pretty well, and you know, all in all, I've been happy with this car, minus a few mechanical things, but you know, nothing super serious. The car has been very reliable overall, so I am pleased with that. It's just kind of my dealer experience that kind of sours me away from Kia in the future, which is too bad. They make nice cars, but I think I'm done. You know, if you could find a good dealer, then you could have a wonderful experience. And I think any car is like that. You know, you could have a Nissan and have a great dealer and everything's great, but it could also go the other way, and you know, that's certainly not unusual. Anyway, folks, thanks so much for watching. Give us a like, share, subscribe, you know, whatever you want to do. I'd appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.